You just attended a staff meeting and you have two takeaways: a one-size-fits-all t-shirt to wear in Spirit Days, and an assignment to set up some of the final grade calculations in Unified Classroom. You teach at a school where Semester 1 and Semester 2 traditional final grades are included on report cards, but there are also quarter-long reporting terms. In each semester, the first quarter makes up 40% of students' final grades, while the second quarter makes up 60% of their final grades. In the staff meeting, it was explained to you that your district leaders set up traditional grade calculation formulas using this term weighting scenario for the semester terms for all of the teachers at your school. That way, report card grades will be weighted in the same way for all students. However, they also told you that it's up to you to set up the final grade calculations for the quarter terms. At first, you were wondering why your district leaders didn't set up the calculation formulas for all of the reporting terms. But then as you chatted with some of your fellow teachers after the meeting, you realized that it's nice to have the flexibility to define the calculation formulas for the quarter terms. For example, you prefer to calculate your students' final grades using category weighting, while the teachers in the science department use total points. By letting the teachers define the grade calculations for the quarter terms, your district leaders have succeeded in giving you and your colleagues a choice in how you determine your students' final grades. So let's take a look at how to exercise that choice in Unified Classroom. To define traditional grade calculations, first open the User menu and click Settings. Then select Traditional Grade Calculation. On the Traditional Grade Calculations page, you see the grade calculation settings for the selected class. To see the grade calculations for all of your classes, click Expand All at the top of the page. The Traditional Grade Calculations page now shows the grade calculation settings for all of your classes for each reporting term. You can see that the semester terms have already been set up by your district leaders with term weighting formulas. You can tell that you cannot edit the calculation formulas or the drop low scores settings for those terms because there are no green check marks in the Edit Calc and Edit Drops columns. You also see that the grade calculation formulas have not been defined for the quarter terms, and the calculation type is currently set to the default calculation method, total points. However, the green check marks indicate that you do have permission to edit the calculations and the drop low scores settings for those terms. To set up the Q1 calculation for the first class in the list, click the edit icon next to the Q1 reporting term. To calculate the overall class grade using the formula, verify that Calculate Overall Class Grade is checked. Then open the Type menu and choose Category Weighting as the calculation type. The Attribute menu shows the first category in the list, Project. In your classes, 4 categories of assignments count in students' final grades. One category, Test, counts twice as much as the others. Projects count for 20% of students' final grades, so enter 2 in the weight field. The percent column shows that projects are worth 100%, but that's because you have not added the other categories yet. Now click the plus sign to add another category. From the Type menu, choose Category Weighting. The Attribute menu automatically shows the next category in the list. Quizzes count for 20% of students' final grades, so enter 2 in the weight field. Then click the plus sign to add another category. Choose Category Weighting again, and then enter 4 in the weight field, since tests count for 40% of students' grades. Then add the last category. Homework also counts for 20% of students' grades, so enter 2 in the weight field. Click outside of the weight field and verify that the values in the percent field are accurate. Then click the Drop Low Scores tab. After opening the Drop Low Scores menu, you see that your options include dropping no scores, dropping the lowest overall score, or dropping the lowest score in a particular category. Since it's the beginning of the term, and you don't want any student scores to be dropped yet, use the default setting of none. Near the end of the term, when students have completed a number of assignments, you can edit this setting. To save the grade calculation, click Save. The alert at the top of the window indicates that you've set up the Q1 grade calculation for the first class successfully. Now set up the grade calculations for the remaining reporting terms and classes by copying the settings. Start with copying the Q1 settings to the rest of the quarter terms in the same class. On the traditional grade calculations page, click the gear icon and select Copy Traditional Grade Calculations. At the top of the Copy Traditional Grade Calculations window, select Within a Class to copy the settings from one reporting term to others within the same class. Then, in the From area, open the Class menu and choose the class from which you want to copy the calculations. Open the Reporting Term menu and choose Q1 as the term from which you want to copy the calculations. Next, in the To area, open the Reporting Term menu and choose Q2, Q3, and Q4 as the terms to which you want to copy the calculations. Click outside the menu to close it. Since you are changing traditional grade calculation settings for the target class and want to recalculate any existing grades, verify that Recalculate Final Grades is checked. Then click Validate. Review the summary to ensure that you are copying the calculation settings from and to the correct reporting terms and classes. The table shows which settings, the calculation formula and the drop low score settings, for each individual reporting term you're about to copy over. If a setting will not be copied successfully, you'll see an explanation in the Info column. Then, to complete the process, click Copy. The alert at the top of the window indicates that you've copied the traditional final grade calculations to the other quarter terms successfully. To set up the grade calculations for the quarter terms in the rest of your classes, copy the Q1 settings from this class to your other classes using the same process. Remember, to set up traditional grade calculations, you must have permission to edit the settings. If you do, open the User menu and click the Settings icon. On the Settings page, select Traditional Grade Calculation. Then for each class and reporting term, click the Edit icon to define the grade calculation and drop low scores settings. Then click Save. To copy traditional grade calculations, begin on the Traditional Grade Calculations page. Click the gear icon and select Copy Traditional Grade Calculations. Choose the term and class to copy the calculations from, and where to copy them to. Recalculate final grades if needed. Click Validate and verify that you are copying the correct settings. Then click Copy to complete the process. Even though it would have saved you a little time if your district leaders had set up the grade calculation formulas for all of the reporting terms, it's nice that they gave you the option to define some of the calculation settings based on your grading preference. Because just like t-shirts, one size does not always fit all when it comes to grading.